Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Veeryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Astu. We were discussing about yajnas in our previous session, and next class onwards, I think you people will be able to go through this revision. Each class, one of you would do the revision, whatever was covered in the up to the previous class. Then we have talked about Paravidya, Kala, and then Vedas, Vedangas. Then Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Tharva Veda is over. Vedangas we will be covering from the maybe not next class. Today we have taken up revision, no? So next class also would be Yajnas only. After that we will go to Vedangas. Then Vedas have Samhita, Brahmana, and then Aranyakas, and then Upanishad. And we have Darshanas as Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, and Yoga. Then Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Dharma, Artha, Kamas, they are considered as Trivarga. Moksha is considered as Apavarga. Then regarding yajnas, we have seen this yajna as a concept mentioned in the Vedas. So yajnas are performed when there is a great purpose behind, like universal good. Everybody should be benefited, and everybody should live in peace, and all those things. And Purusha Sukta and Mahanarayana Upanishad of Taittiriya Aranyakam, they talk about this higher purpose of yajnas. Yajnena yajnam ayajanta devaha tani dharmani prathamani asam. This we have already discussed in our previous sessions. And yajnas are of different types, like japa yajna, tapa, dravya, and many more divisions are there in yajnas. So it is like, it is not a selfish act. First thing is that then Vedas talk about something universal, something for the benefit of the universe. Then the third point is, it is for the benefit of a larger group, and even this dravya yajna, tapo yajna, japa yajna, whatever is there, they can be for our own benefit and also for the benefit of the universe. It can do both, actually. So many times what happens, we do japa for our own benefit, but we can include everybody around us and do japa for their sake. So that helps everybody, and dravya yajna also. Then this Upanishadic text is there, like tasyeva vidusham, that we will take later, actually. Yan maranam tadavabhritah. See, what happens is, there are 20 to 30 components in as a part of yajna. So much of detail is required to perform a yajna, and any activity can be performed like a yajna, and there is a candidate, means Yajamana is there to perform a yajna. So what they say is vidushaha yajnasya. So that is tasya evam vidushaha yajnasya. So vidwan is a person who is knowledgeable and he is wanting to do good to himself and also to the community. And he treats his own life as a yajna and does the activity or whatever activity he does, it is it is done as a duty rather than for getting personal benefits like fame, money, power, whatever. He will do the yajna with that activity with total commitment for the benefit of everyone. So while doing it, he ensures that he gets the best results out of his activities. Now, once a man enters into the householder's position, like once he gets married, he becomes a samsari. Then he needs to follow the Vedic rituals, and uh, at a certain point of time, he will realize that he cannot do activities only for his own self. He has to do it for everybody. So there are three types of runas they talk about, like Deva runa, Rishi runa, Pitru runa. This Deva runa is we owe a lot to the Devas and then the Rishis and then our Pitras, our ancestors. And it is our duty to show our gratitude to them through yajnas. And what happens? Runa, we cannot think of Runa as some loan. It is our gratitude only, which needs to be shown to them for the purposeful existence of our life. And how do we fulfill these obligations? It will be Brahmacharyena Rishibhyaha, Yajnena Devebhyaha, Prajaya Pitrubhyaha. So, usually what happens, we think Devatas in the how they show in movies, they appear with a lot of um, beautiful clothes and ornaments and all those things. It is not so. Actually, they are present within us. We must develop that capability to um, to experience that divine presence. And what happens is once our indriyas start uh, understanding how they once our indriyas start recognizing that divine presence within us, then automatically the environment around us also becomes very divine. Um, and our efforts should be in that direction. We must be able to propagate that divinity everywhere. That is the actual way of uh, our duty being fulfilled towards the these three, the devatas, rishis, and then pitrus. And srishti itself as a yajna we have seen, then our own life will become like a yajna with this. Then who is eligible to perform a yajna means that yajamana, whoever is interested, the one who acts as an agent to get that universal benefit. And then in our day-to-day life, what happens? There is a yajamana who is the focus of all our activities. There will be a In Indian tradition, usually fatherly figure, whoever is the eldest, he will be the Yajamana. Here what happens, our own Atma, in a yajna, our own Atma acts as a Yajamana. Then Shraddha Patni, that mantra is saying Shraddha Patni. If you see here, Shraddha Patni, Shariram Idmu. So, Shraddha, that Patni in general term connotation, we say Patni is a wife. But here in a yajna, our Shraddha, the interest, the faith, or the force behind execution, that acts as Patni. Usually, what is the role of a Patni? She is interested in the welfare of her husband, and she would always may ensure that he doesn't deviate from the righteous path. So here, our interest, our faith, and the force which helps us to move forward in the right direction, that is Shraddha, that is Patni. Then in Dravya Yajna, we have this Agni Karya using Samit, Darbha grass, ghee, and so many things we use. No? So what happens? That whatever things we are using in that yajna, they are called idhma. So what is the role of idhma? Idhma is helpful in kindling the fire. So to get the fire burning well, we need idhma. In manasika yajnas like japa yajna, what is idhma? Our own sharira acts as idhma. Then, so we have got this yajamana, then patni, then idhma also we have got. We have found out where is idhma. Then the sharira participates both mentally and physically in a yajna. The next thing we need after the Yajamana, Patni, then Idhma, the fourth one is the Vedi. So first is Yajamana, then Patni, then Idhma. The fourth one is Vedi. So Vedi is the place where we perform this yajna. So what happens? Our own the in Manasika yajna, in our own body, our own sharira, the chest region, the heart region, it acts as Vedi. So what happens? As all of you know, there are three types of yajna: Garhapatya, Ahavaniya, Dakshinagni, and each of them have a role to play. And usually, Grihastha, uses this. He practices this Agni Karya, whatever he does every day. That is called Garhapatya. Then Ahavaniya is an offering to the Devatas as an oblation, they say. Then Dakshinagni is for the Pitrus. Then Purusha Samhitaha Yajnaha, this. Then what happens? Now we have this Yajamana, Patni, Idhma, Vedi. Four things are ready. The fifth one, what is that? Lomani Barhihi. So if you look at that, Lomaha actually in Agni Karya, what happens? You need Darbha grass. And in Manasika Yajna, our every part of our body participates as darbha. Then Vedaha Shikha. So fifth one is over. Sixth one, Vedaha Shikha. So here what happens? One needs to follow his Varnashrama dharma, and there is no question of shirking his responsibilities and running away to some in search of happiness and all those things. One needs to stay strong in his life and do his duties properly. So here what they are saying is Shikha, the way Shikha holds Yajamana strong, same way Veda acts as Shikha, because Veda gives us that direction. Then Hridayam Yupaha. And in what happens in Agni Karyas, that wooden post is used to tie that animal for sacrifice. And in Manasika Yajna, our own heart is that Yupa. Our heart acts as that Yupa Stambha. Then Manyuhu Pashuhu. What is this Manyu? Manyu means is our anger and other like Arishad Vargas. What are they? Arishad Vargas, can you name them? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. These are the enemies. Ari. Ari means Shatru. Shadvargas. What happens? They destroy us. So Manyuhu Pashuhu. So if you want to sacrifice, what is it that should be sacrificed? It is our own weaknesses, our own anger, our own faults. So we should work on our own selves to elevate ourselves spiritually. That's what is this mantra telling us to do. Then is Tapaha Agni. So what happens? The next component is Agni. So instead of an external fire, Tapaha needs to be practiced. So there are three types of Tapaha. Tapaha Alochane. Tapa Alochane, to contemplate. Then Tapa Dahe, to burn. Means we should burn. We should burn our own selves to elevate ourselves to a great height in respect of spiritual progress. Then Tapa Aishwarye, the effort we put in to progress in our thoughts and deeds bring a glow around us, which can be experienced by all the people around us. So, tapas is like that Agni, the desire to see the completion of the yajna, whatever we are doing, and that is called Kama. Then, Dakshina is given. We give Dakshina to the Ritviks who participate in a yajna. So it can be our softness towards the others also, like while walking on the road. Maybe some people who will be in need of help to cross the road because of the traffic, or maybe blind people would be there. And if we help them, that kind of activity also, that kind of the kindness we exhibit, that also is a kind of dakshina. So we are repaying the rishis or devatas or pitras in by showing our kindness. Then it is also called shamayita. Then there is a hota. In a yajna, there are four people. Who are they? Hota, Udgata, then Brahma, then fourth one is Adhvaryu. So what happens? Hota is a person who belongs to the Rigveda. He will recite the Rigveda mantras and invite the devatas. The role of Hota is to invite the devatas for the yajna. And pranaha udgata. So what happens when Hota invites the devatas? Then this udgata, what he does is he will sing the hymns of Rigveda in the Sama form. And the devata, once they appear in front of us, then he will recite, he will sing the hymns. Then here this Vedic mantra, in Vedic mantra we come across this sentence, Jihva me madhumattama. So what is it saying? Jihva is tongue. Let my tongue be madhumattama. Let my speech be pleasing to others. So here what happens? Let it be to the liking of everybody. Then of course this is not a simple sweet talk, but a beneficial talk. Then this karnabhyam bhuri vishrutam, listen again and again to the needs and respond appropriately. So what happens? We keep hearing so many sounds, but if we don't pay proper attention, we may miss what is actually the essence that we may miss. So listen again and again to the needs and respond properly. Chakshuhu adhvaryuhu. So adhvaryu is a person who belongs to the Yajurveda. He is like the eyes of the body. He will be coordinating rest of the activities, whatever is there. Hota will invite the devatas. Once they appear, the Udgata will start singing the praises. Then Adhvaryu takes over and he acts, he coordinates all the other activities. And then the fourth one is Mano Brahma. This is the Brahma Sthana is taken by that person who belongs to Atharvaveda in a yajna. So what happens? That way, if we observe, Rigveda acts as vak, our speech, hota. The person who takes that responsibility is called hota. Then Samaveda acts as prana. Prana is very important for us, and it is taken. That position is taken by Udgata. Then Yajurveda acts as Chakshu, eyes, and that position is taken by Adhvari. Then Atharva Veda is like Manas. Our mind keeps wandering here and there, and he will alert us. And that position is taken by Brahma. So this is Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva Veda. Then actually what happens is we will stop here, and I would like you all to present whatever you have prepared today. You all might be quite excited to present your hmm, uh, understanding of the subject. So let us continue with this in the next class. Hmm? Chaitra Mahodaya, you will do first.
अस्तु महोदय. अस्तु. सर्वेभ्यः नमस्कारः. So we began our discussion with actually using the analogy of Himalayas, to discuss briefly the terms, basically, Indic knowledge landscape. And probably what I experienced was, based on what Mahodaya was speaking, Haripriya Mahodaya was talking about, just like the height, the expansiveness, the depth, and the greatness of the Himalayas, our Indic knowledge is also something like that. That kind of experience I got. Yeah, so then we moved on to having discussed that, we moved on to the concept of the basically understanding the term knowledge, knowledge in contemporary context and in Vedic context. So contemporary context, what I understood was whatever experiences, skills, whatever we gain through our schooling, our college education, it could be even professional education, it could be various universities, so all those, it could be theoretical knowledge, it could be practical knowledge, learning from others, and even other kind of experiences. So all these, it could include everything, arts and sciences, everything. Pure sciences, and then their applications, all that. So that is mostly understood as knowledge in the contemporary context. Now, when we come to our Vedic context, so here, I mean, what I found is, I think in our Vedic system, the subtler aspects and the finer aspects of existence and reality, I think those are all also discussed apart from whatever is there in contemporary knowledge. So as Mahodaya explained, every discipline of knowledge in, generally any structured knowledge, whatever we call that, there is a term which we use, which is a shastram, basically. Which is, again, the content is very much structured, organized, and Vedas also belong to that same category, and they are the highest among all these shastrani. And then we moved on to the various branches of learning under shastrani. So there, I think we discussed the three branches. And probably the highest or the first level or the branch of learning, what we discussed was the Upasanam. And Upasanam is more about contemplation, then meditation. And yeah, Upasana, the other word is also a word term for that is Paravidya or even Brahma Vidya. And which again has its own 32 sub-branches, and plus Nyasa Vidya. That's what I got from the session. And so yes, Upasanam is mostly related to the process where we contemplate, and it's more of looking inward, maybe the journey inward. Yeah, so it's related to our personal experiences and and probably the highest goal of human life. And I believe this the Upanishadic portions of the Vedas, they talk about in great detail regarding this particular Paravidya, Brahma Vidya. And the next one is Jnanam, or the pure sciences. And the third level is Kala, or applied sciences. So I think the next level of learning, the 14 Sthanani, someone else is doing, right? So yeah, so I think that's what
Excellent, excellent. You have done very well.
Shamyata Mahoday, in case I have faltered somewhere, and I was a little nervous, so So yeah.
You have done well. Any doubts others are having in this part? What Mahodaya has explained? So then Indu Mahodaya, will you?
Namaste, Mahoday.
Namaste.
Namaste. So there is nothing new that I have to tell now. This is something what I understood from attending your class. Nothing more. So she has explained. Chaitra Mahoday has explained about the beginning and the beginning part of what we have started studying. So mine is the 14 Vidya Sthanas, which is one level of learning actually, which is also known as Apara Vidya, or it is the pure science, Jnana. So these are actually, these consist of 4 Vedas, 6 Vedangas, and 4 Upangas. So as we all know, these are the repository of knowledge, Indian system of knowledge. So Vedas, we are all aware that there is a Veda, there is Yajurveda, Samaveda, and the Atharva Veda. Vedangas consist, those who are studying are like Pravesha, Parijaya, and all. From the very beginning, we are very much aware of all these things. From the very beginning, they have started, like, they have introduced all these things. So familiar with all these Vedangas, Shiksha, which includes the phonetics, Chandas, which includes the meter of the slokas and everything, then the Vyakaranam, which is the grammar, Nirukta, which is the etymology, or which is the dictionary, or we can say the thesaurus, all included, and the Kalpa, which is to help in conducting the rituals, and last is the Jyotisham, which comprises of the astronomy and the astrological sciences. Then there comes the 4 Upangas, which includes the Mimamsa, Nyaya Shastram, Puranas, the 18 Puranas, and the Dharma Shastras. So we go into Vedas. There is like the Veda, the word itself means Jnana. So with the Dhatu itself means Jnani. So also known as Shruti, because they have been passed on to us like Shruti. So it's also known as like that. So it's the most ancient repository of knowledge. This, as Mahodaya has told, has come directly from the God. These have been revealed to the rishis, those who have done penance and all. So at the end of all, I mean, when the world comes to an end, when the world ceases to exist, these will go back to the Almighty. That's what I understood. So Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, everything is included there. So the Vedas, they are divided in 4 parts: the Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, and the Upanishad. So why should we follow the Vedas? Why should we study Vedas? So they are like, they give directions for our day-to-day life, both materialistic and spiritual, everything. So of course, they are the source of true sciences. They, like, purpose of Vedas is to do yajna, which is explained every day. So yajnas, like, it's not just the Havan Jalana, it's not just that. So everything we do, every act that we do, that is an yajna, with full heart, dedication, commitment, and without expecting anything in return. That is an yajna. So that is doing good without expecting any reward for the betterment of our society. That is yajna. So that can be dravya yajna, tapo yajna, yoga yajna, swadhyaya yajna, jnana yajna. So that's about Vedas. And then comes the Upangas, which is Mimamsa, Nyaya Shastra, Purana, and Dharma Shastra. And when we talk about Mimamsa, darshanas are, I think, to be mentioned. So darshana, when we say darshana, drishyate anena, so that which is shown to us, which is actually philosophy, tattva chinta. So Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa, they are the Vedartha Darshanani, and then Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya and Yoga. There are also darshanas which come under the Vaidika darshanas. I think I could do only this much.
Okay, very good. You have done it. Any questions in this part?
Yeah, if I may ask, yeah, very well covered, Indu. Thank you. One question is, you mentioned about yagna. So pardon me if I'm wrong, but yagna was also mentioned as something that we do activity day to day. So without expecting any rewards, just do our duty, if I'm not wrong. So in that context, when Lord Krishna asked Arjun to perform his duty at Kurukshetra, the duty in this case is dharmic duty, to kill those who are dharmis. Will that also be kind of yagna, can we say? Because we do it in day-to-day activity, I read.
Yes, yes, it is yajna only.
It's a kind of yagna.
Yes.
Thank you.
Dharma sthapana is the duty. It is the duty of every king to ensure that dharma is everywhere. It is stable everywhere. People are doing well. And when the king fails to, actually they say no, usually many people praise Ashoka because he renounced everything. He became, maybe he could have become Buddhist, but his purpose as a king, he had the duty to protect. In that he failed, and because of that, we started having all these conquerors entering India. And even today, till today, we are facing the repercussions. So a king has the duty. There is no choice for him. Otherwise, he cannot. He should not be there in that position.
That's why we give. Sorry. That's why we give example of Ram Rajya.
Yes.
I mean, I think he was ultimate in performing his duties towards his subjects.
Yes.
And that's why his example is portrayed.
Rama, entire Raghu Vamsha, none of the kings failed in their that position. They held that position because they were great kings. As a king, it is the first comes the kingdom, then only their families. That they ensure.
Harishchandra is another example.
Yes, Harishchandra
which is uncomparable.
Yes. So that's why dharma, when we come to dharma, it depends on each person. Like a Brahmin, he has some other dharma. He cannot go on killing people. No. His job is to ensure that everybody in the society is taken care of spiritually. And,
if I'm sorry,
yes,
please complete. Please complete. My apologies.
In today's world, what has happened? Brahmins are also not doing their duty properly, and whoever is in that higher position, like Kshatriya, they are also not doing their duty. Nobody is doing their job properly. That's
why we are in Kali Yuga.
Yes, it is the effect of Kali Yuga also. Already Vyasa Rishi has predicted that people will be like this only.
Absolutely. So we are proving him right.
Yes. Let us try at least whatever he has tried to convey to us. So many things, at least one or two things, let us catch from him.
No, most certainly. I think these sessions are meant for that, to revive our at least sense of, yes, understanding on these.
Yes,
Thank
definitely.
you.
Next is Jayita Mohodaye. Will you speak?
Namo Namaha. So today I'm going to speak on Vedas as containers of knowledge. So Vedas, they are described as containers of knowledge because they are guiding every facet of our life. So they describe or prescribe how ways in which we can lead our life in a harmonious way, in harmony with our surroundings, with every living, non-living thing around us in a virtuous way. So all of this makes for personal happiness also, and happiness of all around us. Environment also like is conducive, is happy and harmonious. So Vedas contain the knowledge to and give the path to lead such a life. So they are described as container of knowledge. So, also related to that is because they are so valuable, they are so very valuable, it is our duty to then protect the Vedas. So this could have different parts to it, like some might be learning the Vedas, some might be learning to recite the Vedas, some might be studying to understand it. But whether or not we are actually, how much we are participating in that way of acquiring the knowledge, we definitely need to ensure that it is protected. And of course, if we can propagate it, if we ourselves can learn and propagate, that is the best thing. But to ensure that it is protected from any harm, any ways that it would get lost, so it is not lost to succeeding generations, it needs to be protected. So that is one thing. Then and if we don't do this, then we would be contributing to what ma'am had described as glani of dharma, because then the true knowledge would be lost. So then we would be contributing to that. So the way to acquire this knowledge, protect this knowledge, this term that ma'am had said, swadhyaya adhyetavya. Swadhyaya is of course study, self-study, and also study using the Guru Shishya Parampara, through the paramparic way of acquiring that knowledge from a guru who follows the prescribed ways of ensuring that the knowledge is received in the way that the intention of the originators of the Veda was. So it is part of that. And so it is Guru Mukha Dhyanam. Guru Mukha Dhyanam.
Guru Mukha Adhyayana.
Guru Mukha Adhyayanam. So studying with a guru, or guru imparts the knowledge, and through that way we are receiving that knowledge. Then other aspect was that about adhikaris. So who are the adhikaris who will get this knowledge, who are allowed to practice this knowledge? So there are different kind of views to that. So I mean, who is allowed to actually recite it, who is allowed to teach it, who is there are different views. But I think one is that there is a definite view that everybody should gain the benefit from the knowledge that is there in the Veda. And ma'am had talked about Swami Dayanand Saraswati, who has also said that irrespective of varna or caste, etc., everyone is entitled to get the benefit that is from that knowledge that is contained in the Veda. So that is one thing. Then also there is one of the aspects of the Vedas is that there is a discussion around the three gunas. So sattva, rajas, and tamas, and that is talked about by Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita also. So like sattva is the yathartha jnanam, which is being situated in the reality of things as they are without any distortion. And then rajas is where a lot of energy, very proactive, but still not a place of full knowledge of yathartha. Tamas is where it's inert, where the person is inert and a bit lazy and not taking action. So, but not just people, everything, whether it's food, whether it's everything, every aspect of our life, these three gunas are existing in that. And so it might, like food might be rajasic, or it might be tamasic, or even activities that we are participating in, they may have aspects of sattva, rajas, or tamas as predominant. So like this activity, definitely there is huge sattvic part to it, because we are studying about our traditional knowledge, and we're talking about Vedas. So this is definitely sattva dominant. So and also that we have to make this choice, to make the good choice of participating in sattvic things rather than the slightly more negative things. So, and in the Gita, Shri Krishna said that actually the true achievement is where you're transcending all the three gunas. So it is Nistrey Gunyo Bhava Arjuna. So, and it is called Chetana, which is evolution of the consciousness. So this is what that is the target of us as human beings, as Jivatma, to reach that place. We have transcended all three gunas. Then the last thing that I think here is that Veda is like most would like to just talk about it. We would think it is just to do with good, and there is no negative aspect to this. So the thing is that because it contains extreme knowledge of great power, which gives you a lot of power. But again, the usage of that can be both for good and evil. For example, ma'am had given the example of Asuras who also did Veda Dhyana, did Adhyana of Vedas, and they used that knowledge to cause harm, to hurt other people. So that is also possible. But that knowledge that is there, so it is for us to make that choice that we use that knowledge for the good. And that's it. Thank you.
Excellent. Any doubts here?
Yeah, I have a doubt, not a doubt, but a question. And that question has always nagged me, and that is, in the ancient times, the time where you're talking about your Vedas and others, you also mentioned, ma'am now, Jayita, that there's a guru and Shishya parampara for optimum or ideal learning, because guru is supposed to be an expert, and yeah, you follow that practice. But in the current scenario, my question is a little different. In the current scenario, when we have so much of knowledge and the press of a button, and not that earlier it wasn't there, but it wasn't the form that it's so easily available. So I want to talk the nuance of this. While the knowledge is so much available now, it's in fact overload and bombardment of knowledge in us. Is it possible to gain the knowledge? Because there's a dearth of gurus, real gurus who are knowledgeable. Now I'm not talking of Google per se, but yeah, the knowledge is available tremendously on social media. You search it and it's available, and in fair amount of details. Even Vedas, for example, or the topic I'm going to talk about, I did a lot of research on that from there. So how relevant is it this to have that Shishya and Guru Parampara, which was, I think, the basis and foundation of the Gurukuls? Can I have views? I mean, there can't be any answer to this. May I have your views on this?
Yes, actually, see, if you approach such gurus, like Gurukulas have a focused way of teaching their students and shape them into excellent human beings and shape them into excellent gurus also. Those students who study in Gurukulas, they have become excellent teachers later on. Whomever I have approached till today, they all are excellent teachers actually. While doing MA, I used to go to one sir. He was he retired from some as a high school teacher from some small school only, but he had so much of knowledge. It is very difficult to come across such humble people actually. And that humility which these topics are telling us to practice, that is not seen elsewhere. If we learn a little bit, we automatically we become, actually we think we have learned so much, we know so much, like that. But Gurukulas definitely helps. If we go to Gurukulas, in that we should go at a young age. That helps a lot.
So the attributes, you're basically talking the attributes of a guru,
Huh.
which are very important to maintain that parampara and for proper learning, which cannot be per se read by yourself.
It's not possible. That
Yeah.
whatever nuances are there, that cannot be brought out simply by reading a book and all, or Googling.
So I like that answer. So yeah, so the answer is basically the attributes of a guru who will imbibe that knowledge in the ideal way.
Yes.
In fact,
So-
I had an opportunity, ma'am, to visit Coimbatore in December with my wife last December. And at that time, while going to Guru Vayur temple, we halted at Palakkad. There is a place Palakkad, and we visited a Gurukul there, because I had never seen in my life. So one of my friends who's from that region advised me, and it was eye-opening to go and see kids from 7 to 16 years learning Vedas and chanting it all the time, like probably it used to happen in the ancient times. So I just wanted to share that experience.
Yes, actually, such gurukulas are there even in Mysore, and then Bangalore itself has some such gurukulas. They teach very well. Actually, they give this knowledge also, and also they teach this English curriculum also. So that once they are grown up adults, they should not miss on these subjects.
And the opportunities that are available.
So
thank you. I got the answer.
Yes, Om Shanti Dhama is there. They are doing great service. Actually, all over India, students come and learn there, and different Vedas are taught to
Thank you.
like that. So next will be Nalini Mahoday. Yeah.
Namaskaram to all. The topic that I have been given is the role of Vyasa, Panini, and Patanjali. Let me start with Vyasa. Vyasa, a little bit about Vyasa is that he is the one, I mean, he was born of Satyavati, okay, and he is also called Krishna Krishna because he was dark. Yeah, Dvaipayana. Yeah, Krishna Dvaipayana, because he was born on an island and he was dark, so that's why they named him that. He, of course, is credited with the Vedas were a huge mass of knowledge, and he's the one who kind of made divisions for each of them, put them into proper categories. And of course, he chose one rishi to each to pass on the knowledge to, so that they could teach each other instead of everybody trying to get one one set of mantras and so on. So he's credited with having divided and categorized and made very neat divisions of the Vedas so that it could be passed on to future generations. We must remember that the Vedas were passed on orally. It was a oral tradition. It was only much later that they were written down, and what has come down to us is actually a small fraction of what was actually there. Okay. Also, of course, he's credited with the Mahabharata and quite a few other important texts. And of course, he is supposed to be one of the Chirajivis, which means he's there till the end of the Kalpa, till Pralaya. Okay, because he has to. And of course, after this, this cycle of birth and death and samhara and pralaya, all of this is over. You have the next person taking over this particular role. Okay, so he's also called an Amsha Avtara. That is, you have a part of the holiness of the divine. A part of the divine, an ansha is in him, and that is why he is able to have that kind of knowledge and that kind of power and that kind of authority over the scriptures and so on. So that is as far as Vyasa is concerned. Then, of course, I think in the very first class, before we even introduced ourselves, ma'am, after a small prayer to Lord Ganesha, ma'am also talked about she talked about Bhashyakaram Patanjali, and then Paninim Sutrakaracha Pranatosmi. Okay, and then of course one part, the last part of it was Kritsnam Vyakranam Proktam Tasmai Paninaye Namaha. Okay, so that was again, bringing in the two other very important people. Okay, and then of course, Sage Patanjali is of course, credited with the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. He's supposed to have attained Samadhi through yogic meditation. And of course, that is supposed to have happened somewhere in the south. But of course, there are, varying legends about that. But Patanjali, for example, if one goes to yoga camps, you start off with Yogena Chittasya, which is actually paying obeisance to Panini, so because he takes away all your illnesses or anything that plagues you, sharirasya, whatever malam sharirasya, all the dirt from your, only through yoga. Okay, so he's so Patanjali is a very important, has a very important role to play also. Okay, he's also supposed to have written commentaries or bhashas. Okay, so Bhashya Karam Patanjali, that is what was part of what ma'am recited at the beginning of the course. Then of course, coming to Panini's Ashtadhyayi, we are all very, very, we have heard it, all of us. When ma'am was talking about Samhita and Sandhi, she told us about how the word Samhita was used by Panini to talk about something that is other than what it means Vedically. Now, what does it mean in the Veda is continuous utterance without a pause. Okay, Samhita avyavadhanena ucharanam. Okay, and then what does Panini do with the same word? He uses it for combining two words. So here, of course, then of course we talked about how Sandhi is something that occurs in all Indian languages. So ma'am said whether you are learning Marathi, whether you are reading Marathi or Hindi or Kannada, you will come across Sandhi and Samas and all of that. And of course she talked about mool, this thing of Samhita, Samyak plus Hitam. Okay, so Samhita. So here, of course, then ma'am talked about how Pada Patha and Krama Patha. Pada Patha is when the uttering of a shloka has gaps, and Krama Patha is when it is supposed to be, when it is recited without this thing. Okay, so then of course the formulations of Panini's grammar were given to us as Adesh, Agama, and Lopa, which ma'am said we will do when we are doing Vedangas. So here, of course, then of course we looked at something called Anudata, Udata, and Swarita, which were again Vyakranas by Panini. Okay, the horizontal line under the syllables was called Anudata. The vertical line above the syllable is called Udata, and when you have no line, it is called Swarita. And these were part of the Vyakranas that Panini gave us. So ma'am, of course, she chanted the Agnimile Purohitam Yajnasya Deva Vrita Vijam Hotaram Ratna Ghatamam. Okay, so I don't know how well I've done it, but this is a line from the Vedas, and she gave us how it would be done with Padapatha. Padapatha will have Agni, and then we'll have Mile, and then we'll have Purohitam, like that. Whereas if you were to do it with the Krama Patha, you would do it Agni Mile Purohitam, like that. You would, without a pause. Okay, and then of course Panini's Ashtadhyayi today, Panini's grammar. I think even Arsha Vidya Kendram is running a course which has to do with Panini's Vyakranam. So we are all, we all know what a wonderful grammarian he was, and some of his formulations people are still trying to understand to this day. Thank you. I think I have.
Excellent. Any questions here? Naresh Mohoday, you have questions, huh?
Thank you very much. It's very clear, and I think she covered excellently. Every small thing that you taught is.
Next is yours only.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a challenging task to keep everybody's attention being almost the last one, I think.
No,
Because,
still 2 people are there.
okay, okay. Because the dinner must be waiting for many. So my topic of today is pramanas. Now that's very interesting topic because I did mention when this was being covered by you, ma'am, that I'm a student of physics. So straight away it came to my mind, pramana is the fundamental of physics. That is, you make a postulation, then a hypothesis, and that hypothesis is to be proven with the observations. Without that, the science doesn't work. It doesn't accept, which was not the case in our ancient sciences of Rishi Munis. There were observations and there were postulations, and they also laid down the rules for that. So I'm going to holistically cover this topic, and it will take about 10 minutes, for which I have sought your permission, approximately. Now, because when I started reading this, I found it very interesting, and it is very holistic for understanding. So I'll try to make my best effort to see if I can communicate what I have read. So pramana literally means proof, and the concept of pramana is derived from the Sanskrit two words, Sanskrit roots that you taught, roots, dhatu, pra, that's a preposition meaning outward, and ma, which means measurement. So pra plus ma, meaning is the correct notion, true knowledge, basis, foundation, etc., for understanding the knowledge by us. While the word pramana, if I add na again, is further normalization of the word pram. While what is perceived by our senses, the five senses, is seemingly the correct way to have pramana of an event, it may not always be so. Maybe in my examples, I will say so. In fact, I can give an example straight away. For example, between Coimbatore and the moon. Now, which one is closer? I will say moon because it's visible to me. Where I am sitting, I'm in Kurukshetra, by the way, now, which is my hometown. I'm a brother's house due to some reason. So, from Kurukshetra, Coimbatore is not visible. For that matter, Mumbai is not visible. But yes, so visibility, or going by one of the methods of pramana by senses, is not probably going to help us many times. It may not. So there are other reasons required as pramana for proof of what we see or what we perceive. Therefore, we may sometimes need other means than only our senses to have a valid pramana of an event. Hence, the holistic study of pramanas as a means of acquiring knowledge is very important. So, Hinduism per se identifies 6 types of pramanas as correct means of accurate knowledge and to the truths. So, pramana, in fact, aspect of study of Hinduism as accepted as an authority and instruments of knowledge. In this context, there are some texts such as Ved Vyasa, which I believe I have read only, I don't know. 10 pramanas are listed, not 6. As per Taittiriya Aranyaka, which belongs to the 9th to the 6th century BCE, that's roughly 3000 years back I'm talking about, there are 4 means of attaining correct knowledge, and these are Smriti, that is scriptures, Pratyaksha, which is perception, Atitya, which is expert testimony or historical tradition, and Anumana, which you taught very beautifully. That is inference. I mean, I still remember what you said. Now, with this background, I would like to talk on the concept of pramana. The concept of pramana can be understood through 3 divisions. That is jnana, jnanam, and jnaniyam, which when translated becomes knowledge, knower, and the knowable. So pramana is also related to the Indian concept of yukti. You heard the word yukti, which means active application of epistemology, or in other way, what one already knows, the innovation, the reasoning, the logic, joining together, and means and methods to achieve a purpose more efficiently. Some Indian texts discuss pramana and yukti together, with Yukti described as the active process of gaining knowledge. This contrast with the passive process of gaining knowledge through observations and perception. What is the meaning of pramana, if I may say so, in Sanskrit? The pramana in Sanskrit literally means proof and the means of knowledge. Hence, in the Indian tradition, philosophies, pramanas are the means to lead to knowledge as well as serve as one of the core concepts of Indian epistemology. It has been one of the key, though a much debated area, the pramana, in three isms. And those are Buddhism, Jainism, and the ism that we are in, Hinduism. I mean, they are also Hindus, but per se, when you talk about Buddhism and Jainism, they are a little more maybe they are more rigorous, and they don't accept all six. When I cover, I will talk about it. So why are pramanas essential? As we know, there are infinite things in the universe which see objects in the external world, which seem to be sometimes as they are, and sometimes it may not be so what they look. To acquire the knowledge of such concepts, pramanas are essential. And now I'll go into the 6 pramanas per se before I end my talk in the Advaita Indian philosophy. These are the first one is perception, pratyaksha. And I'll try to give examples to clarify the point that I wish to make. Pratyaksha means like what we see, what is visible to us. In fact, in Hindi, there is a saying, pratyaksh ko praman ki avashyakta nahi hai. I mean, what is visible is in front of you doesn't need any means to prove. Yes. And this is the first and the best means of knowledge that enables a person to have direct means of cognition and understanding. In the Hindu text, pratyaksha is of two kinds, external and internal. Now, external is a direct interaction of the 5 senses and the objects we see in the world. And the smriti, that is remembered perception, is through internal sense, where the mind comes into play. Otherwise, it is not possible. And when the mind comes into play, the cognitive perception, pratyaksha, is possible only through consciousness. The dead can't. So the consciousness that is fundamental to us, living beings, comes into play for internal part. The second one is inference. I like this very much, in fact, anumana, as you taught. Anumana means inference through, though it's often treated as guesswork now in modern times, which is not so. Though it has got a large theory behind it. In ancient philosophy, it is described as reaching a new conclusion based on what? Based on observations and previously known truths. Based on, by applying the reasoning, that we make. So, for example, I think this example you also gave, observing smoke and inferring fire is a popular example we know in our Hinduism that we give. And that actually is so, because by learning, since we are grown up now, the child won't make out. Yeah, we know there's smoke, there's fire. There ought to be fire. So if there's fire behind a hill, which is far away, there's no way our senses can be sure about it. But yeah, by our previous knowledge and by observation and correlation through our intellect, we know probably there's fire. So that is one way of anumana. So anumana also comprises of 3 parts, as I read. One is pratijana. I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong. Pratijana, which is hypothesis. Hetu, that is a reasoning. And darshanta, which is examples. Hypothesis itself.
Drishtanta.
I beg your pardon?
Drishtanta.
Drishtanta, yes. I just studied, so pardon my. Yeah.
It's okay.
So hypothesis itself consists of 2 parts of, to be checked. One is sadhya, the idea which needs to be proven by this method, and paksha, the object on which the sadhya is predicted. The inference is conditionally true if the positive examples are present as evidence and the negative examples are absent. That's perfect, actually. Positive examples are there and negatives are not there. So then it's nearly a foolproof method. And the third point is comparison and analogy. Upamana, that also you taught very beautifully. Upamana means comparison and analogy. Now, the use of analogy and comparison is considered a proper means of knowledge, as it involves the previous knowledge of the object, use of memory to recall the factors of comparison, and the conclusion or the knowledge that we derive. The method of upamana, has three
Upamana.
components. Upamana has three components: the subject, the object, and the attributes. Now, I'll give an example so I can identify these three. To illustrate this, let's say if boy says to a girlfriend, her face is like the moon in charmingness. The girl's face is upiyama. The moon is upamana,
Upamana.
upamana, and the
Upamana, upameya.
upamaya and upamana. So subject and the object. And the charming part is what is attributes? Samanya.
Samana dharma.
Samana dharma. Okay, I read
What
samanya.
is common between them? That glow or that calmness or whatever is there in the moon and also in her face.
Yes. So attributes in a way. Can I say attributes to this samanya? Okay. Another example of this is, let's say a traveler is going to an unknown land of endemic population of wildlife. And imagine the traveler being told by someone, his friend who has been there before, that when you go there, look for an animal which is like a cow but different than the cow. And then he describes how the cow will be and how the animal there will be. And now this analogy, when the guy goes there and he compares all the attributes and he identifies out of tens of animals that he sees, oh, this is the one. So this is probably another example of this upmana. I also read an interesting part, the 7th century text, Bhakta Kavya, in verses 10.28 to 10.63 discusses many types of analogies and comparisons. And in fact, 32 types of mana and their values in epistemology is debated and presented in this. 32 types, which is a hell of a lot. And the fourth one is postulation and derivation, which basically is from circumstances when the direct evidence through means that we otherwise see, etc., are not possible. And this has got a very live example. When a case is going on in the court and there's no direct evidence, there's a murder, for example, somebody has not seen it, then you go by circumstantial evidence. So you derive and postulate from the circumstances, oh, yeah, there was blood stains and somebody was seen running and so on and so forth. So they correlate all the circumstances and they come to a conclusion, which is also a kind of knowledge pass the judgment in that case. So this is also a fair example. The other one could be, you derive, let's say an aircraft has taken off and you derive that the takeoff time is so and so, ETA, we call in Air Force, ETA, expected time of arrival, in civil also now, is so and so. So let's say one of your relatives is gone, what will you do? When the time of that ETA is passed, you'll say that guy is landed there. But now that could be subject to error. That's a pitfall there because the aircraft could encounter weather. It may actually not go to the destination. It may be forced to land somewhere else, divert, or God forbid, it may be hijacked. So this has that pitfall, or this particular area has a pitfall to derive conclusions which are foolproof. And then one of the most interesting one from our point of view is verbal testimony. They say Shabda Pramana or words of scriptures, which in our Sanatan is very important. For Advaita Vedanta, for example, most of the information is gained through scriptures, as you have been teaching us. It holds scriptures as the most important pramana, that is Shabda Pramana, which is taken as gospel truth and the highest authority of yes. So, like when we say man is mortal, now we only heard it, yeah, and we know it also. And for that matter, there is also Mahavakya, Aham Brahmasmi. Now that also has gone down the channel and we have learned it. So this is the kind of verbal testimony that we know and we accept as gospel truths. So it has come down in generations, and there is a sub-pramana for this. So this is also this is one of the highest form, because it thoroughly depends on the original source, which is Vedas, and not on other means like inference, etc., etc. And Vedas are supposed to be infallible source of knowledge. And lastly, ma'am, is a very interesting one, pramana, non-perception or negative cognitive proof. That is called in Sanskrit anuplabdhi. Anuplabdhi.
Anupalabdhi.
Anuplabdhi, yes. So anuplabdhi is also very interesting because it goes by negativity. I mean, absence of something. And to make my point, anuplabdhi, when there's a non-perception object, it also gives information to its existence. So how does this become knowledge? For example, when we say uh, there's no water in the glass, means the glass is empty. If you want to say glass is empty, you conclude by saying there's no water in the glass. So, or for that matter, nothing in the glass. Or there's no student in the class, means the class is empty. So you put it in a negative way, and then you conclude or come to a knowledge base. I think with that, I mean, there's a little more, but I'll finish. I'm crossing my time. And so, in nutshell, in conclusion, I'll say, well, the number of pramanas varies widely from system to system, Hinduism and Jainism, and who accept basically three. There are three pramanas which are central, which are universally accepted in all isms, and they are pratyaksha, that is perception, anumana, which is inference, and sabda, which is word. So the word pramana means the testimony of the past and present by a reliable expert like you through scriptures and texts. And that is considered the highest degree of authority for this. Thank you. I finished with that.
Excellent. You have done a very good job. Actually, these pramanas in Tarka Shastra, they have covered it so beautifully. So very well discussion has happened. And once we finish this, I think we should go for Tarka Shastra. Once we finish this course.
Will you kindly suggest some book for me to read this? I did research here and there, and from your what you taught.
I have shared that link, no, for Tarka. I think I have shared that link with you.
Will you kindly do that again in a group?
Yeah, I'll do it. It's a beautiful subject.
I must have missed.
Yes, we must.
Very interesting.
Everybody should read. It's an eye opener, actually.
Yes.
Astu, Shibani Mahoday, next is your turn.
Yes. My topic is, I'm audible enough?
Yes.
So my topic today is Veda, Srishti, Nama, Rupa, and Kritya. So as till now we have discussed and we got the information that there are 4 types of Vedas, mainly Rig Veda, which praises to Devtas, which gives the information, guides us regarding praises of Devtas. Yajurveda is about performing various rituals. Third is Samaved, which is mantras in a gan form or the musical recitation of mantras. And the fourth Ved is Atharva Ved. It is about the procedures of everyday life as physical health, warfare, or magic, etc. So these 4 Vedas also have subcategories. Each one has 4 categories except I think Atharva Veda. So their 4 categories are Samhita, Brahman, Aranyak, and Upanishad. Samhita is continuous utterance without a pause or break of mantras. Brahman is the application of mantras, and Aranyak and Upanishad is about gradual progression from material to spiritual. Also, there are four Purusharthas, Dharma, Moksha, Kama, and Artha. So, Sanhita and Brahman discuss or guides or targets, gives information about Dharma, Artha, and Kama, Trivarga. And Aranyak and Upanishad gives talks or guides about moksha. Then you have told us about the Shrishti. So Veda are Shabda Pramanas, and it is believed that the creation of the Srishti was happened by uttering Vedic mantras. And with that, Bhuloka, Swargaloka, etc., other lokas are created. Also, Brahma has created bhutas. Now, there are 5 types of bhutas: Akash, Vayu, Agni, Apa, and Prithvi. And also, there is a concept you have explained is about all the knowledge contents can be divided into 2 aspects. One is Nama, which means everything which is created has a name, and Rupa. When we talk about something, we have structure, so it's Rupa. And the third aspect is everything which is created has a purpose for it, that is Kritya. So you have explained about a pot. So pot, we can call it a pot as a Nama. Its Rupa can be its shape, its size, its material used, and the Kritya of that pot is to carry water or things. So that is how the Nama, Rupa, and Kritya is explained. So while explaining about the Srishti creation, you have mentioned that Parabrahma has created Chaturmukha Brahma and asked him to carry out the task of Srishti creation. So with Panchabhutas, he has created Panchabhutas, but with that simple Panchabhutas, it will be difficult to carry out the entire Srishti. So then the Panchikarana concept is included. But before that, regarding those Panchabhutas, it is the information about different bhutas is the Akash Bhuta has the name Akasha. Its Rupa is sound, its Kritya is to hear Vedas, and its sense organ is ear. The next bhuta in a order is Vayu. Its Rupa is touch, its Kritya is to have a gati, that is movement, and Gandha. It carries smells, thus it is also called as Gandhavaha, and its sense organ is skin. The third bhuta in order is Agni. Its name is Tejas. Its Rupa is fire. Its Kritya is warmth or heat or life sustaining. Sense organ is eyes. And there are 5 Tejas we have. One is Surya, second is Chandra, then Nakshatra, Agni itself, and Vidyut. The fourth bhuta is Apa. The name Nam is Jala. Its Rupa is taste. Its Kritya is sustain everything visible to eyes. And the sense organ is tongue. And the last bhuta is Prithvi. So the Nam is Prithvi. Rupa is smell. Kritya is Gandha. And the sense organ is nose. Prithvi here, just not only the planet, but mud is also considered as a Prithvi. So with this 5 elements, Brahma has started creating Srishti, but to create the entire Srishti, he has mixed all these 5 elements, and the process is called Panchikarana. And thus the bhutas are again called as Panchikarana Akasha, Panchikarana Vayu, Panchikarana Agni, Panchikarana Apa, and Panchikarana Prithvi. In this, the process, what is followed is, for example, in Panchikarana Akasha, Akasha is taken as 50%, and the rest of the 50% is distributed into the other remaining 4 bhutas. That is 12.5% Vayu, 12.5% Agni, 12.5% Apa, 12.5% Prithvi, and the Panchikarana Akasha is created. By doing this, the 3 gunas also included in that, and that is Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And that is how, with combination of all this, the Srishti is created. So this is what I have.
Yes, you have done a very good job. Excellent. And only thing is Panchikrita. Once that Panchikarana has happened, you have to say Panchikrita Akasha, Panchikrita Vayu. Very good, excellent. Next, Sundaresh Mahodaya, you are the last speaker.
Last speaker, okay. Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. In the interest of time, I will try to quickly summarize without sacrificing the essential points of my topic. I have sent a PDF file to all of you that I've installed in the group. You can please open that. So I'll quickly go through that, and I will concentrate on 2 sections, section 5 and 6. And the first 3 sections or 4 sections, I'm going to just quickly go through, because we have already discussed and most of you have already talked about all these things. But my concentration on this topic is Upanishads in daily life. Okay, we have been talking about the Vedas and Upanishads and all that stuff, but specifically about the Upanishads. All right. Now, Upanishads, there was a term that was used as Vedanta. Anta means it is the end. Vedanta, Vedaha, Antahan means that which comes at the end of Vedas. So in Vedas, there were 4 aspects, 4 sections that we talked about. One was the Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad. Upanishad is the one that comes at the end. Anta means end in Sanskrit. So it is called Vedanta. The quintessence of all these Vedas is actually part of this Upanishad, which actually describes how to attain moksha and things like that. So with that one line description or the introduction of Upanishads, the section number 1 in my PDF, that what I've said is Upanishad. The meaning of the word Upanishad, it is derived from the dhatu, the root in Sanskrit called sad. Sad is the root from which the word Upanishad is derived. Now, as most of you know, in Sanskrit, being a divine language, each word has got many different meanings based on the context in which it is used. Okay, that is one of the significant, I would say, supernatural aspect of this language of Sanskrit. Okay, and once we actually get into into the grammar of the Sanskrit, then we'll get to know how vast it is and how many. Certainly, it's very difficult to master in one life the possibilities and the grammatical constructs that are there within this language. So, with that, Sad means it is the root word from which the word Upanishad is derived, and it has broadly 3 meanings: loosening, movement, and annihilation. Okay, now these are the 3 different meanings that are attributed to this dhatu, the root. And dhatu is also called as pratipadika. Now, what happens is when we add the pratyayas or the suffixes to this, then we can form different words and verbs and things like that. So the root for this Upanishad is sad, which means loosening, movement, and annihilation. Now, if you combine all these 3 meanings under the context of Upanishads, what does it mean? See, one can say Upanishads will actually loosen the bonds of our samsara. Samsara means it's a transmigratory existence. What we are living our lives today is basically a very temporary one. It is not a permanent. That's what we learn from our Upanishads and from our Vedas, and it's also called as a transmigratory existence. So basically what it says, it annihilates one's ignorance, okay, when it also loosens the bond. See, we are actually attached to the samsara, and for us to attain moksha, we have to be detached. That's one of the quintessence of the teachings of these Vedas and Upanishads. So what it says is we have to be detached from the samsara, and that's part of this meaning. And it also annihilates. That means, how do we really detach from the samsara is to eliminate the ignorance, to really understand who the God is, and what God is made up of, and attributes of God and things like that. So it annihilates ignorance that is covering our soul and preventing us from understanding the real self, the real God, the real truth. Okay, and then the third one is it leads us to movement. Is when we do these two things, it leads us to the movement, our movement in the right path in terms of attaining the moksha, or the oneness with the Atman. That is the meaning of these three things to put together. All right, and also that is generally the I can say the good classical meaning of what Upanishads mean. There is also another meaning that is generally and commonly attributed is Upanishad means upa means near, shat means sitting. That means you're learning the secrets of this life as to how to attain moksha through a guru. Sitting close to Guru, Upa Nishad. Upa means sit down, Nishad means close by. So you're sitting close to a Guru and learning the secrets from a Guru as to how to attain moksha. So that's also another meaning that is commonly used as to what this Upanishad means. I think there was one question or one discussion that came up when Naresh sir was talking about the Guru and the Sishya. So this Upanishad is something like it fits into that discussion we had, where Upanishad means that you learn through a guru, face to face. Guru Mukhena. Mukhena means face to face. So you learn the secrets of the life as to how to attain moksha through Vedas and Upanishads. All right. Okay. Now the next point is what do Upanishads really contain? It contains the quintessence of Vedic philosophy. We talked, a lot of you already gave an introduction to all the different systems of philosophy that we have. We talked about Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and Uttara Mimamsa, Purva Mimamsa. Uttara Mimamsa is what Vedanta we said. So all those systems of philosophy, they derive their whole thing from these Upanishads. They derive the strength and inspiration. It comes from the Upanishads, and that's what these Upanishads contain. They contain the divine, what should I say, that come from the rishis, that actually all this knowledge, the supernatural knowledge that came to us through rishis is contained in Upanishads. That's what it contains. And also basically the idea there in the entire Vedas and Upanishads is the moksha, as to how to attain moksha. Once we are born as human beings, then our single pointed goal is to attain moksha. And that's what these Vedas and Upanishads say, and that's what they contain. Okay, the third point there, what are the basic teachings of Upanishads? I've already mentioned. I think we have already touched upon, many of you have already touched upon the creation. Upanishads say that the cause of this universe is Brahman. Okay, Brahman is also known in different terminologies: Atman, Sat, Akasha, Bhuma, etc. And we have already discussed about that. Brahman is omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. And Brahman is Apaurusheya. There is a word that's very commonly used. Apaurusheya means one that doesn't have a beginning nor the end. It's called Apaurusheya. In one of the suktas, as we go forward, I think we are going to learn about a few suktas. There is a Purusha Sukta. There is one sukta in the Upanishad which actually talks about the Brahman and the Purusha itself. Apaurusheya. Okay. Then the last one is Brahman. He is the Lord as well as the substratum of the whole creation. So when we say the whole universe is created by Brahman, then the Brahman himself is the Lord as well as the substratum, the foundation of all these things. So that is the another teaching of this Upanishads. And of course, the ultimate goal of life is to become one with, is to become aware that we have Brahman in ourselves. All of us are actually we have Brahman in us. So the ultimate goal is to understand the complete attributes of Brahman and become and get to know that we are Brahman. Okay, and the philosophy that actually Vedanta is also known as Advaita philosophy, that we are one with the Brahman. There's no differentiation between I versus you. You know, we both are same. Brahman is, we are Brahman. That's what basically the Advaita philosophy says, and that's what the ultimate goal also here for the Upanishads. Okay, and what is Atman? It's the core of all living beings. There's no birth or death, as we just talked about, and it's eternal. And it is actually we all have an Atman and Brahman in ourselves, but it's a little different. So as we go through in depth the study of all these Upanishads, we will actually get to know the different attributes of Brahman. And that's why we say basically it's different from the body. The soul is Brahman, but body is different. The body houses that Brahman. So in the course of our study of the Upanishads and Vedas, we'll get to know what this exactly means. How the, you know, what is why is Atman different than this body, and who we are and what is the soul and things like that. Okay. Now the most important two sections I have is the relevance of Upanishads in daily life. The first bullet point that I have written, it clearly says the main problem that we have in our modern life or in this world is the lack of inner peace and constant conflict with the external world. So I think in one of the presentations previously, one of you actually basically said we have to do a lot of stuff internally. We have to know, become aware of ourselves. We have to become aware of ourselves basically means to become aware that we are Atman itself. That is what it means. So in order to do that, we have to go internally. But since we are living in this transmigratory existential situation, we have to face the outside world also. So, and we will have a conflict in that. Definitely, we always have a conflict. So, the study of Upanishads and Vedas will help us to understand and both the inside and the outside, and then how to go inside, and then start our journey of understanding the different attributes of Brahman. Okay, and the last bullet item I say is an earnest study of Upanishads without any bias or prejudgments is bound to inspire one to aspire for the life of the spirit. I think just Naresh also mentioned so many things about the tarka, the nyaya. You know, you talk pratyaksha, pramana, anumana, and all those. Those are all the tools that are used in order to understand the very complex attributes of this Atman. So basically Upanishads, basically if we study this the Upanishads in depth, we will be very well equipped to understand this complex abstract ideas about Brahman and moksha and how to attain it and whatnot. Now coming to the last section, you know, a lot of it what we talk, you know, sometimes it feels it's a lot of theory, but when we actually study the Upanishads and we study the Upanishads through a guru, and when we chant, you know, there is a lot of truth. We really get very excited once we know how to chant these Upanishadic statements and things like that. So as part of section 6, I have written many Upanishads that actually give us the way we have to conduct our lives on a daily basis. In other words, how do we really implement the teachings that we have in these Vedas and Upanishads? That's what that section 6 says. But as most of you know, there are many Upanishads that have been discovered until today. Usually they say we have 108 Upanishads, but a lot of them say it's more than 1,000, but we don't really have the documentation of all those 1,000 Upanishads. So they have really identified 108 Upanishads for which there is documentation available. Out of that 108, there are 10 principal Upanishads for which all our three gurus have commented on extensively: Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, and Madhvacharya. So it's called the Dashopanishad. Dashopanishad means it's Isha, Kena, Kata, Prashna, Mundaka, Mandukya, Thaitri, and Aitareya, Chandogya, and Brihadaranyaka. These are the 10 Upanishads. I think as we move forward, we are going to learn a little bit about all these 10 Upanishads. But these are called the 10 principal Upanishads. Okay, and through which and these 10 principal Upanishads, they contain the quintessence of all these 4 Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda, and Atharvaveda. So all our 3 acharyas have commented on all these 10 Upanishads. And out of these 10 Upanishads, all of them are equally important, in my opinion. But some of them are very heavily used, both for in our day-to-day lives as well as in our rituals and things like that. And one of them is the Taittiriya Upanishad. You know, in most of the books, it's abbreviated as TU. Here also I have abbreviated, as T in one of the bullet points has got TU, Taittiriya Upanishad. The Taittiriya Upanishad contains many commandments that we can implement on a day-to-day basis. That actually we must implement as in our day-to-day lives, and that's how we can develop develop our knowledge and whatnot in terms of going on the right path to attain moksha. So what I will do is I'm going to recite one paragraph from the Taittiriya Upanishad and tell you that there are 17 commandments which actually are the Upanishadic statements that we have to use in our day-to-day life. And as we move forward in this course, I am sure we are going to learn a lot of these things. So I will give you just a glimpse of what that is as done in the Taittiriya Upanishad. And also I'll come back to section 6 and then tell you some of the other references from other Upanishads that I have culled out a few statements. In Taittiriya Upanishad, there is a chapter called Swadhyaya Prashamsa. Swadhyaya, Swadhyaya, that means one that we have to learn. Swadhyaya means we learn on our own. One of the basic tenets of Upanishads is that from the moment we are born until we breathe our last, we should never stop learning. Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means we also learn from others, and we also have to put into practice what we learn from others, and we also have to proliferate that. That means we have to put our own efforts and we have to learn a lot. So one such paragraph, one such section in Taittiriya Upanishad it's called Swadhyaya Prashamsa. ऋतञ्च स्वाध्याय प्रवतने च सत्यञ्च स्वाध्याय प्रवतने च तपश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च दमश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च शमश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च अग्नयश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च अग्निहोत्रञ्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च अतिशयश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च मानुषञ्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च प्रजा च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च प्रजनश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च प्रजातिश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च सत्यमिति सत्यवचारातीतरः तप इति तपो नित्यः पौरुषिष्टिः स्वाध्याय प्रवचने ये वेति नाको मौद्गल्यः तद्धि तपस्तद्धि तपः. This is the way of Vedic chanting. Actually, I've learned Vedic chanting, so I'm able to chant these things. Then instead of taking the time to go through each and every sentence, I will just explain to you quickly what these, there are 17 basic tenets in this section. Tenets are the commandments, and what it says is, first one is Ritancha Swadhyaya Pravachanecha. Swadhyaya Pravachanecha is common to all the sentences, as you can make out. What it means is Swadhyaya Pravachanecha. That means we have to learn, and we have to learn from others, as well as we have to continue to learn on our own also. That's what Swadhyaya Pravachanecha. Ritancha Swadhyaya Pravachanecha means we always have to have a good, noble character. The second one is we always have to speak the truth. And then every day we have to do our prayers, and it's called japa and tapa. And we have to control our senses. That is the next one. And we have to always maintain the calmness in our mind. And then we have to be away from anger. That means we have to control our anger. And every day we have to do homa and havan, it says in this text, but actually if you translate that to our day-to-day activities, homa and havan is a prayers. Every day we have to make sure that we pray, and we have to treat the guests in a very noble way, and we have to have humanity. We have to demonstrate humanity in all our activities, and we have to have faith in everybody, and also we have to behave in a way that people will have faith in us. And we also have to think about our progeny. So if we build a good character ourselves, then our progeny also will follow in the same path. So we have to think about the progeny and what kind of life that we have to lead, so that our progeny will continue the good activities that we started. And then we always have to do good work, and we always have to maintain the truth and consistency in our life. And then we also have to, whenever the opportunity arises, if we are in a position to where we can guide ourselves, we have to make sure that we guide people always in the truthful path. And then we have to control, and we already said we have to control our senses, but we have to control our ego. That is one of the most important thing. So that is these are, and then the last thing is, which I've already said, that we should not stop doing our prayers on a day-to-day basis. These are basically, this is the meaning of the paragraph that I just chanted. So if I come back to section number 6, it is the same extension in some of the other Upanishads. For example, AU have said, that is Amrita Bindu Upanishad. In Amrita Bindu Upanishad, there is a statement that says, Manayeva Manushyanam Karanam Bandha Mokshayoho Bandhaya Vishayasaktam Muktam Nirvishayam Smritam. There is an Upanishad called Amrita Bindu Upanishad. What it says is, the thing that is standing between us and moksha is our mind. So we have to train our mind in such a way that we always tread the right path with the basic suggestions that I just read from the Taittiriya Upanishad, so that we are on the right path to attain the moksha by understanding the quintessence, or by understanding the Vedas and Upanishads. Okay, the other one I already mentioned, Satyam, Vada, Dharmam, Chara, Swadhyayanma, Pramadaha. That is also from Taittiriya Upanishad. Always we have to speak the truth and we have to be on the righteous path. This is always on a day-to-day basis. Okay, we have to do this on a day-to-day basis. And the next one is the next one is from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which is one of the biggest Upanishads and very powerful one. There it says, Dhamyata Datta Dayadvamiti Tadetat Trayam Sikshe Dhamam Dhanam Dayamiti. We already spoke about that. We always have to have compassionate for others, which comes under the humanity. And we have to control our senses, and we have to do charity. See, there is a saying in Sanskrit also, they says, we have to, we get a lot of things as charity in many different forms, but our life should be such that we give more than what we get. That is the quintessence of this particular statement from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. And then the self-discipline. I have already talked about it in Taittiriya Upanishad. It says, Tapaso Vigdijasasva Tapo Brahmeti. That means tapa means it's a practice. Tapas we have to practice this on a day-to-day basis, on a moment-to-moment basis. Not only we should practice that, we should also practice this with the external world, and also we have to think about our progeny and make sure that the practices we have will be carried forward to the progeny, and from there it goes on and on. So we have to set a foundation for that. Basically, this is what I have summarized as part of what Upanishads mean in the daily life. There's a lot more we can talk about that, but I just jotted down a few points based on the lectures that we have so far from Haripriya Bhagini. And as we move forward, a lot of these things that I've talked about and a lot of things that all of you have mentioned, I think we are going to learn a lot more about that. Hari Om Tat Sat. Dhanyavada.
Excellent, Mahodaya. You have done a very good job, and there is so much that the Upanishads are offering for us to learn and practice, to adopt in our day-to-day life. Really very nice. And we will close the session as time has exceeded. And we'll meet again next week. Today I won't be posting this today's class notes, as we have not completed what I wanted to cover. So next week it will be posted. Otherwise, I'll have to cut it again.
One small suggestion, just 10 seconds. As Sundarshan Iyer Saab has done, he has put a PDF in the group. May I suggest that each one who's done a great job in focusing on a particular topic also puts a PDF?
Yeah.
No, we all will learn, cross-learn then.
Yeah, definitely. I can put that in class notes also. It will be useful for others who don't attend the class. They can read actually. All of you can do it.
Okay, thank you.
It's a very good idea. Astu samapayamah. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinas sarve santu niramayaha sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhaved. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Astu.
Hari Om Tat Sat. Dhanyavada Bhagini. Ram Ram.
Great. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Dhanyavad.